Hi, my name is Rebecca Noe, and I am a Family Consumer Science Education major. I did my A&E assignment geared as if I was teaching instructional practices, which is a class that high schoolers can take if they want to be like teachers when they grow up. So the particular lesson that I'm doing it on is interpersonal skills and active listening in the classroom. So I would start out my lesson by saying, "Good morning, class. I hope that you all had a great weekend." Last week, we discussed the importance of classroom management. We watched several video clips on how a classroom should and should not be managed. In addition, we compared the differences between roles and procedures. At the end of the week, each of you created a foldable describing what roles and procedures you plan on implementing in your future classroom. To begin our lesson today, I need everyone to get out a blank sheet of paper. On the sheet of paper, I would like each of you to individually illustrate what an effective teacher looks like in your opinion. I will give you about 3 minutes to complete this activity. So the students are drawing what they think is an effective teacher. Okay, 3 minutes. All right. The illustrations that you all drew will be related to what we are discussing today. Today, you will be learning about interpersonal skills and active listening and how these two components create an effective and successful teacher. Throughout the class, there will be group discussions, guided notes, an activity, and a worksheet. So let's get started. To then actually begin my lesson, I will ask my students the two following questions. Is teacher-student communication important? If so, why? Then the next question I would ask is, do the way teachers communicate impact your feelings as a student? How? So then, of course, we'd answer and discuss, and then it would lead us to our first handout, which is this KWL worksheet. And the directions say, first fill out the first two columns of the worksheet. After that, we will begin a classroom discussion based on what is said in the textbook about interpersonal skills and active listening as a teacher. Pay attention because once the discussion is over, you will have to fill out the third column. So here it is again. And in the first column, it says, what do you know about interpersonal skills and active listening in the classroom? Second column, what do you want to know about interpersonal skills and active listening in the classroom? And the last one, what did you learn about interpersonal skills and active listening in the classroom? So then I will then pass out the first handout, which is the KWL worksheet I just showed. I will have the students communicate and work in small groups to complete the first two columns of the worksheet. So I would say, I am passing out a worksheet that y'all be working on today. Please fill out the first two columns. You may discuss with the people at your table. Here you go. Alright, so once the students are done with the first two columns, I will pass out their guided notes worksheet. We will be engaging in classroom discussion and filling out the blanks as we discuss. So I would say, now we will be discussing what was said in your book about interpersonal skills and active listening in the classroom. This is something that all teachers need to be able to do, which is why this lesson is so important since you are all planning on being teachers. Alright, so here's the guided notes that I would pass out, and as you can see, there's blanks, so we'll fill them out as we discuss in class. So here it is. It's 2 pages, so it's lovely. Alright, so then I would say, here's a worksheet that follows along with our notes. I will ask one of you to read each question and then you will fill in the blank. So I would pass them out. So I would start it by having a student read question 1, and they would read the question, and then I would say, the positive interpersonal groundwork that teachers build with their students through guidance and support serves to establish the teacher's roles of being a model and mentor. So based on what I said, they would fill out the blanks on their notes. Then I would have a student read question 2, and then I would say teachers who effectively use interpersonal communication promote rich learning, which is related to good feelings and strong emotional bonds among those involved. So then we would discuss and then fill out the blanks on the notes. Then I would have a student read question 3. They would read question 3, and then I would say communication is a two-way process, meaning that teachers must be aware of what they are communicating to their students as well as what their students are communicating to them. So then we would discuss and then fill out the blanks on the notes. So, yeah, okay. So then I would have a student read question 4, and then they would read question 4, and then I would say many researchers have concluded that there are multiple nonverbal actions that display that someone is listening and interested in what the other person is communicating. So then we would discuss and they would fill out the blanks on their notes based on what I said. Then I would have a student read question 5, and then after they read question 5, I would say the student and teacher should literally be on the same level to enhance open communication. This includes, for example, a teacher kneeling at a student's desk or sitting in chair eye level to the student. If a teacher is standing rather than on the same level as the student, the teacher is viewed to be superior and authoritative. So basically we would discuss and they would fill out their notes. All right, then I would ask a student to read question 6. They would read question 6, and then I would say, in addition, the following are examples of how to actively listen. Direct eye contact, relaxed posture, leaning forward, being physically close, and silence while the other is speaking. So then we would discuss and they would fill out the corresponding blanks on their notes. Okay, then I would have a student read question 7. They would read question 7 on their notes, and then I would say, additionally, summarizing or paraphrasing what the other person says keeps both parties interested and involved. This technique allows for clarification and improved communication between both parties. So we would discuss, and then they would fill out what we discussed on their notes. All right, and then I would ask a student to read question 8. I'd pick that student, they'd read, and then I would say nonverbal messages can also be reflected back verbally to the speaker to give the speaker more self-knowledge on the subject. Then we would discuss as a class what's important about that, and then they would fill out their notes on their handout. All right. Then I would have a student read question 9, and then after that I would say there can be discrepancies between the verbal and nonverbal messages that are communicated. It is important to remember that nonverbal messages often relay more genuine information than verbal messages. These differences in verbal and nonverbal communication should not go unaddressed or unnoticed. So then we would discuss, and then they would fill out their notes. Then I would have a student to read question 10, which is our last question on the handout I gave them. They would read it, and then I would say, teachers who wish to have close and interpersonal relationships with students outside the academic environment should practice both their interpersonal and active listening skills. Active listening will also encourage students to confide in their teacher. All right, then we would discuss, and they would fill out their notes on their handout, and that was question number 10, the last one on the handout, so yay, notes have been taken. All right, then I would follow along with my lesson. Great, these notes are yours to keep. And then, and then I will say, now we are going to play a game. Have any of y'all played the game telephone before? Of course, I'd, wait for the response. And then I would still explain the instructions because I think it's important. So then I would say, all right, first let's get in a big circle. To play this game, one student will create a phrase that only he or she will know. That student will then whisper the phrase to the person directly to their right. From there, that student will whisper what they think they heard to the student on their right. This process will continue all the way around the circle. After the last person in the circle is told the phrase, they will state the phrase aloud. The first and last student will communicate to see if the phrase was the same as at the end as it was at the beginning. So they're my instructions. And everyone's played the game telephone. It's so much fun. And it teaches active listening and interpersonal skills. All right, so then I will pick a student to start. And so I'd say I pick Haley. All right, to start us off. Think of a phrase and then whisper it to Lindy. All right, so we would play the game telephone, and then we'd keep playing based on time. I don't know how many times we play, probably 2 or 3. All right, so then we'd play telephone. That was fun. Y'all did a great job today. And then they'd get back, and we'd get back into their desk and everything. And then I would ask them to fill out their last column on their KWL, and they would turn that in at the end of class, which would also serve as their exit ticket. So then to conclude everything, I would say, today we have learned about interpersonal skills and active listening and why they are essential communication techniques for teachers to implement in their classroom. In addition, you learn through various activities that you'll be able to keep for your notes. So that's what my lesson would be like. I mapped it out, and it should be about 50 minutes, give or take. But that would be my lesson on interpersonal skills and active listening. Here's my script that I just read. And like I said, they have this KWL worksheet to do. And then their guided notes, what they would read, we would discuss each question individually, and then based on what we discuss and talk about, they'd fill in the blanks. And I got all this info from the textbooks I would use, which is for future teachers. So that would be my lesson. Thanks for watching. Right.